If you're looking for 50/50 tickets, Barry, the middle table right there is selling them. Please make sure, and Ed.
Steve will go to the table.
And we leave it at. Just raise your hand if you need a 50/50. But greetings, I'm glad everybody was able to come to our papal meeting. Dick, would you like to introduce your guest? And then I'll have him do the motion. Right? And then I'm going to have him do the motion.
All right, well, he was a little nervous about doing so. We'll also chip in.
Oh, we always do. Yeah.
Hi, I'm glad to say we have a new potential member, Elliot. Do you want to get up for a minute and tell us a little bit about, come on up to the microphone and just tell us a little bit about yourself and
my name is Elliot Arshan. I've been living in Marlton, New Jersey about 33 years. I'm originally from Philadelphia. I'm retired. I worked at Ancor as an administrator. Divorced is half the people. What else? I know Dick from LA Fitness for several years. I'm excited to be a member and be invited here and hopefully join. And look forward to having a lot of fun.
Elliot, just stay up here. Elliot's going to lead us in a motzi, and we're going to join in. We're just going to start it off, and we'll join in. And ready? Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min ha'oretz.
let's eat!
If I can have your attention, please. We're going to start with Ed and a finance report and presentation. Ed, if you'll join us up here. You do the finance and then we'll do the presentation.
Oh, okay. All right. Morning, everybody. Thanks for the table captains for collecting this morning. I appreciate that. I think we've got, well, I haven't seen the envelopes yet. I haven't gone through them, but we've got about 60 people paid. So if you haven't paid yet, I need you to pay. And I'm sure we'll get the rest of the people. We're over 100 when we started, so hopefully everybody will renew. We were at about 105. I think we're right in that range. The philanthropic committee, I had asked if anyone wanted to be the chairman of that committee. We had, I think, 4 or 5 members on it. I was originally the chairman, but I thought it would be nice if someone else took that over. And someone sent me an email, and I have it at home. I can't remember if that person's here this morning. If you did, come and see me after the meeting. If not, I'll take care of it when I get back home. Other than that, we have the presentation this morning to the Goodwin Holocaust Museum, which we made about a month ago. And
Mike, if you also come up for that.
These are the proceeds. These are half the proceeds from the law enforcement breakfast, from the 50/50 and some additional monies that the club put into the contribution.
And receiving that today is Peggy David and Charles Middleberg. If you folks would join us up here.
Just to say, I can put that. Oh, okay.
I was not prepared to say anything, but I am one of the survivors that belongs to the SJMC, and I spend my time, and for the rest of my life, to go to schools to churches, to whoever wants to hear my story. And I think what we do is most important, because if we're not going to be talking about it, if we're not going to remind people what did happen, the horrors that happened, we're bound to have it happen again. Now, right now, I would urge you on the table, wherever you're sitting, there's the March of Remembrance. Please make a tremendous effort to be part of it. It's not going to be a huge march. It's that, where the Christian Bethel Church is on Springdale. It's going to start right across the street, the extension of the GHMEC, and it ends at our place of business, right at Crescent and Springdale. Please do make an effort to come. It's a worthy cause we have to keep on. It is most important that we keep on remembering. Let us not forget ever.
I'm Peggy David. I am on the steering committee of the GHMEC. I'm the child of survivors. I'm the second generation. I'm the one that remembers even though I wasn't there. And I know that the work that's done there, it's a tiny little place, if you haven't seen it downstairs physically, a tiny little place that does a huge amount of work, touches a huge number of people, and as Charles said, it speaks of a time in our history that can never, ever be forgotten. The impact of that terrible, terrible time changed our history and should have changed all of us. I know it changed me. Before I was born, probably before I was an idea. So next week's event is extremely important. As Charles said, we'll be walking from the annex at 1721 Springdale back here to the JCC, when there will be a very important speaker to follow up the emotional part of what we're doing. And thank you in advance for your support, and thank you today for the support you've given us that helps us continue doing this very, very vital work on our behalf and on behalf of all generations to come. Thank you.
To sponsor a luncheon, the senior luncheon that is occurring this month in the Sukkah. And that is on the 1st, it's Thursday. It's at noontime. I think they wanted us all to sign up. On the email it said by last Friday. Okay, Dave's saying there's something on the table. I imagine if you called up tomorrow and reserved, they probably could still get you in. I think there's a minimal charge for lunch. I think it's $2.
You can't sign up tomorrow. It's Sukkot.
It's Sukkot tomorrow.
Wednesday might be if they'll take any names on Wednesday.
It's on the first Thursday.
Okay, well, I signed up, so I'm willing to share my blintzes with anybody who wants to come.
I signed up too.
Okay, Dave will share half a blintz too. Okay. Oh, fantasy football. Can I say something about fantasy football?
No.
Come and get us, guys. Come and get us.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. But I just want to say also with the Goodwood Holocaust Museum, as a group, it's one of the most important things I think that we do as far as supporting that as a group and as individuals. So we're very happy to, continue our support. Mike?
Yes, I think it's important to realize that the Goodwood Holocaust Education Center has lifetime memberships, and the South Jersey Men's Club was the very first organization to become a lifetime member. And the Jewish war vets, and I believe this happened because Nelson was commander at the time, the Jewish war vets is the only other organization that's a lifetime member of the Holocaust Education Center.
Thank you.
Just real fast, the Jewish War Veterans, they recognize all the great things that South Jersey Men's Club does.
and we'd like to join with you with any activities that you feel appropriate to get together. So that means we'll have over 400 people actually as membership if we join together.
Terrific.
50, and you got 85.
Dick Knopf, where are you? Dick on membership.
Hey, Nelson, the only question I have, I buy the veggies. How many veggies? How many bags of tomatoes? And it's going to be a lot of tomatoes. Tomatoes. Hello, everybody. I'm really just here again to promote our membership organization. I think, Marty, we're getting close to an all-time high. Is that right? I don't mean drinking high. I mean membership high, right? He's not sure, but we already have 60-plus members that have paid their dues, and I'm sure the rest will follow suit. I always have membership applications. I also have survey forms. Who has not filled out a survey form? Would you raise your hand? Do you remember not? Joel? Oh, you have it for me. Isn't that nice? I emailed it to him. And anybody else who's not willing to admit it, but let me know, and I'll be happy to email you a form so that we can know more about what you're all up to. We're always looking for programs to help David out. God knows he needs a lot of help. And, things like that. And there are 5 members, 5 of us, plus spouses, are going to Israel in a couple of weeks. So I'm all pumped up for that. I got to get my shekels, right? So if anybody knows of anyone that wants to join, anybody need an application? No? Nobody knows anybody that's Jewish. Okay. Thanks a lot. Bye now.
Okay, also, I know we ordered additional shirts for the men's club. I'm not sure where they are.
I got a whole bunch of them.
But if you, how can I say it? If you need a larger size, maybe please see Dick, and we'll make sure that you get one that fits appropriately. And if we need more shirts, we'll certainly order them. Okay, Mike, if you'll come up, Mike's going to talk on several topics today. The first one is Israel advocacy.
Thank you, Don. On November 8th, there will be an Israel Advocacy Conference. It'll be for South Jersey and Eastern Pennsylvania in Dresher. There'll be carpools from here. People aren't going as individuals. They're going as representatives of organizations like the Men's Club, synagogues, Jewish War Vets, Hadassah, on and on. Any group that's interested in Israel advocacy on a formal basis. It is unique, and the partners in putting it together are the Embassy of Israel and Merkaz USA. Merkaz is the Zionist movement for the Zionist arm of the conservative movement. The cost is being covered by, most of it is being covered by a benefactor who will pay half of the price for each individual. And the JCRC of Southern New Jersey will pay for one person to go. The maximum that can go from any group is 4. So if you would like to do this and be part of the representation for the South Jersey Men's Club, answer the email when it comes for it. I think Rich Moskowitz indicated last month he was going to check his schedule if he's able to attend. The cost, bottom line, will end up being at the most $36. The breakfast and lunch and all snacks are covered, a thumb drive, a tremendous amount of material. So just from what I told you, you know that the actual cost to put it on is more than $36 per person, but we've got an awful lot of it covered. So hopefully people here will feel enthusiastic enough that when they hear about Israel advocacy, keep in mind, it's not the kind where you're going for social reasons. It's not like APAC where you go, you're entertained, you're with people who are interested in the same thing you are. This is learning how to build, organize, or enhance an Israel Advocacy Committee. Any questions? Thank you.
A couple of months ago, I started a list of, for lack of a better term, we call a taskmaster. And what it is, it's identifying various roles and things that we need to accomplish as a group. Many of you have signed up We're in the process now. We're trying to follow up with you. Please remember, if you've signed up, we could certainly use the help. It spreads out the responsibility, makes it a lot easier for everybody, but in particular, the officers. David, if you'd come up and speak to us regarding the joint meeting with Bethel.
Good morning. The joint meeting with Bethel is not next month, but in November 22nd. The Israeli, and by the way, Mike Perloff is arranged for the speaker, and I thank him very much for that. Consul General Yaron Seidman from the Israeli consulate will be our guest speaker. And again, joint meeting with Bethel. We should have a very nice turnout between certainly our group and theirs. As far as I know, breakfast is free. You don't have to pay for it this time. So we'll let you know about that.
Where?
At Bethel. I'm sorry. Bethel Synagogue. Any questions?
9 o'clock. 9 o'clock in the morning or 9:30?
9. They have a service. They have a service first.
Yeah, Minyan is at 9 o'clock. And then after the Minyan.
Breakfast about, I think, at 9:45.
Right, yeah.
All right. Thank you.
And I think we're supposed to still volunteer to help out with the preparing of the breakfast.
Yes.
Even though we're not.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you. Any other questions?
Going out on that. I think there should be something going out.
Yes, certainly. Thank you.
Hey, that's instead of the 29th, right? Because you usually have it last week, so we have to have it until the 29th, it's going to be on the 22nd.
It's Thanksgiving.
This is the 22nd. Thank you.
Yes, and by the way, we do have our calendar set for the next year and 4 months, so I'll try to get that out to everybody so you can plan long term. Dave, on JAG, ABC events, Sukkah, various.
Let me first mention why it was not the last Sunday in the month. That's Thanksgiving. And we don't have our meetings on holidays. All right, let me start off with the Sukkah. As you all see, the Sukkah is up there, standing nice and tall. And I do want to appreciate the folks that showed up. We had a number of people showed, but at the last minute, a few couldn't make it. But at the last minute, we had some people like Bob Greenberg, who didn't sign up, that did show. But what happened was when we had the sign-up sheet, we had put it up on top and take it down at the bottom. Most people never lifted the sheet. We only have 4 people that have signed up now, and we do need more. So I'm going to pass this around.
To take it down, you mean?
To take it down?
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it's going to be on October the 7th, which is a Wednesday. It's going to start at 10, be over about noon. They always give us pizza and a drink. And we do need some more volunteers. So I'm going to pass it over here. Please circle it around the table and give it to each table so I can have a number of people that are available for that event. Let me put it out right now. Now the other event with the Sukkah is, as Ed Stein indicated, we are sponsoring lunch in the Sukkah on October the 1st, which is next Thursday. The lunch is going to be blintzes. It's $2 per person. A number of us have already signed up, and we'd like to see a good group. They've allowed us to publicize it. We're going to put up our banner. And again, don't contact me. On your table, there is a form. It says you're supposed to sign up by Friday, last Friday. I've talked to the people there, and they said they're willing to get people signing up through tomorrow morning. If you're interested, please sign up. Take the information. You can do it by telephone. There's number is on here. So again, every table, I see that table doesn't have it, but every table should have one of these forms. That table was not set up when I first got in here, and I don't know if I have another one. But if you have information, you call the JCC here. If you want the full number, I can give it to you. It's 856-424-4444. The big thing there is call extension 1273 and ask for Karen and make your reservation for that meal and join the rest of there. Pardon?
Karen is transportation. You got to call 1280. That's what it says on the slip.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Bill is right. It's 1280 if you want the meal. And you should be able to get it Just say if you're from the men's club. Okay, so we have the Sukkah takedown, we have the Sukkah lunch. The next thing is the Arts, Books, and Cultural Festival, and I'm involved in the committee. We have this brochure. I tried to get copies downstairs when I came in, and I couldn't, so I don't know. It is an absolutely fantastic event every year. This year we have such big names, it's just unbelievable. Ted Koppel, David Gregory, the Alders, we have Susie Essman, and so forth. At a board meeting, I said, let's see if we can get a group of people to attend one or more events. And the board was very interested in 2 events. The 2 events that I was told they would be interested in trying to get a group together, and maybe we'll have breakfast. One is Ted Koppel. It's on a Sunday morning. Maybe we'll all have breakfast, let's say, at Short Hills. The other one is Susie Essman, which is on an evening on Saturday night, and maybe we'll all go out someplace for dinner before that. But the deal here is I can get tickets at 10% off. Anybody can get tickets at 10% off if you come in with a group of at least 10 people. So what we're pushing right now, and you have received emails on this, 2 events that we would like to have a group of us go. One event is Ted Koppel, and he's going to be talking about cyber warfare, which I would think would be very, very interesting for everybody here. And the other topic is Susie Essman, who most of you know. She was on Curb Your Enthusiasm. She is extremely funny for anybody who's ever seen her before. Now, at the present moment, I have checks from 2 people covering 4 people. 1 for going to one event and 1 for going to the other event. Unless I get checks covering 10 people, at least 10 people, you can have 100 people, but I have to have it for at least 10 people, I can't get the 10% discount. And it's buying them all at one event. So if you want to go and you say, well, we'll get the discount, I'll come in afterwards. It's when I go in at one time, however many tickets I buy. If I buy any more later, the discount is not there. Now, you all got an email which basically said, what I was told is that those are 2 of the most popular events that are going to be sold out very fast. And they suggested I try and get the money in by about the 1st of the month. What I'm asking you now, and I've got a check, as I said, for Koppel for 2 people. I've got a check from Essman for 2 people. I need to get the checks given to me today or mailed to me over the next couple of days. And only if we have, as I said, 10 people going. Now, I want to say this. I'm going, but I'm a patron, so I'm going to all events, so this doesn't cover me. And somebody else there, Len Berman, was it? No, somebody told me that they're also going to all events. This is, if you're going to only 1 or 2 events, this is what we want to push. I don't want to just say this because there are other great events. There's an evening with a guy from Blood, Sweat, and Tears going to be talking about rock and roll, blood, sweat, and tears, and so forth, and there's going to be free beer. There's going to be another event which is going to be talking about the Israeli Defense Forces major events over the course of their experience. I mean, it's just an absolutely fantastic event, and I can't wait to go see it. But we can't say, let's go to them all, because most of you can't go. You can only go to 1 or 2. Please, 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 if you're interested, I need that money this week, early in this week as possible. Yes?
What are the dates of those 2 events?
Okay. The Ted Koppel is on Sunday morning, November the 8th, and Susie Essman is Saturday night, November the 14th. So it's a Sunday morning like this and a Saturday night. Yes, Mike?
If somebody wants to be going, representing the men's club at the Israel Advocacy Conference, be aware that that's also on November 8th, and you don't do both.
Okay. I did not know that. So, okay, so now we have a problem. Yes, Larry?
What's the cost for this?
Okay. The cost for both of them, they're $30 a ticket if you were going by yourself. If I get 10 or more tickets, it's 10% off, so it's $27 a person. Some of the ones in the middle of the week are only $15, so if we had 10 people going for that, it would be $13.50. But the 2 that were picked by the board are both $30 ticket events and would cost $27 if I can get 10 or more people going. I'm glad you asked that question. Any other questions about Arts, Books, and Cultural Festival. I'm sorry I could not get more brochures. I don't know where they were. I asked downstairs, and nobody could give them to me today. Okay. The other things, the Jewish Athletic Group, we had a Tour de Shul event, and Alan Finkelstein is our representative who does cycling. He's not here. I have not heard from him. Did you hear it all, Gary?
I did.
Pardon?
I heard from him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Alan did the ride last Sunday. He said it was very grueling because of the wind in the hills, but he did 43 miles. He said it felt like twice that.
Okay, so we have somebody representing us over there, and I think it's a great event, and we, as a club, sponsor him, and the money goes to Camp Ramah. Yes?
Yeah, the amount that they raised this year was a minimum of $50,000. So it's a very successful fundraiser. And
we as usual, participate in that. The other thing is what's coming up. On the 8th of October, we have the JAG Pinochle Tournament, and we already have 4 people from this club that are going to be participating. Mike, me, Gary. No, Gary's going to be playing for Ner Tamid. Sid and Alan Finkelstein are going to be representing us. A member here, Gary Sternberg, who also belongs to Ner Tamid, will be representing Ner Tamid. So we have 5 members here are playing. So if any of you play Pinochle, are still interested, let me know. And then on the 1st of November, we have a bowling tournament. And the information for both of these has gone out to you by email from Randy. Barry Rosenberg is going to be the honcho, the guy that's going to run our team here. And the information on it was to contact him. If we have 3 members, we have a team. And you can have 100 members. The top 3 scores count. So if you're a lousy bowler and you still want to participate in a good event, you can bowl and your score won't count if you have other people that have higher scores. So it's a top 3 scores count. And that's November 1st. So that's pretty much what I have to say, Don.
Thank you. And Mike, just a few things. Food drive, Passover 20.
Okay, as we mention at every meeting, please bring kosher food that will be donated to the Jewish Family and Children's Service. And not to stress it overly, but there are many more people than you would ever imagine in South Jersey who don't eat if people don't help them out with food. And for that reason, we do have food donations that are brought downstairs, and then they go to the food pantry. Twice a year, the community has at the organizations, the synagogues primarily, on the high holy days, and I believe also on Passover, massive food drives. And the food all gets taken to one location, and that is today, and that is down the street at the annex of this building, and it has to be sorted, and we volunteer to help do the sorting. And as soon as we leave here, we'd like people to volunteer to go with us, with your shirts on, to identify us as a group, and we'll help sort the food. Directions will be given. If when we get there, it turns out that they have already enough volunteers or they're finished, we can then have people that will help actually take the food that is boxed up and go to the food pantry itself, which is on Route 70 near Dutkins and Senator Beach's office, and help put the things on the shelves. That's that. Any questions? How many people think you might be able to give an hour today? Good. Great. Okay, secondly.
Mike?
Yes, sir.
You also participated last Thursday in the provision of the food. Last Thursday morning we were doing.
That's correct. Right, thank you, Ed. Twinning. Just to briefly update you on that, twinning is, of course, you match 2 people, and for those of us who do not have a place to go for Passover Seder, you sign up, and we have other members that would be more than happy to have you and your wife or significant other. So there'll be more on that later. We do have some time. We had some people sign up already, and if just in principle, you're not signing on a dotted line, you think you would have room at your table for one of the members who has nowhere to go, please raise your hand. Excellent, excellent. And if you think you need a place, Just sign up and we'll help with the matching. Thank you.
Thanks again, Mike. Okay, an update on fantasy football. We are well underway. Again, just for the new members, I started this 3 years ago. We had 8 people involved. I think we're up to 16 or 17 members now involved with either ownership or co-ownership of a team. We're going into the 3rd week. I'm happy to say I'm one of the teams tied for first. Ed Stein tied for first, 2-0. Rich and Bob tied for first. And the rookie of the year, Jerry, first time in, is 2-0. So we are having a lot of fun, even though some of the people are new to it. I think they certainly are enjoying it, and I encourage you, if you decide that you want to get involved, certainly do so for next year. Marty, anything on Israeli trip?
Just a little bit. We're 2 weeks and 2 days away from leaving to go to Israel. It's amazing. A reminder or a recommendation, you should probably go out and get some shekels before you get to Israel. I think that's running somewhere between 25 and 30 cents a shekel. I think that's what it is. So recommendation is you go and get them ahead of time. AAA, if you're a member, you can get them for free. They don't charge you anything extra. All you have to do is bring cash, and a couple of days later they'll essentially give you the amount of shekels that you've ordered. One more reminder, remember your suitcases are probably up in the attic. Bring them down. That's it.
Have a good trip.
What?
Have a good trip.
Yes, enjoy it. Ed, would you want to mention you coping with Christmas luncheon just for a minute? And we'll be getting to our speaker.
Before I mention the coping with Christmas, for those of you who are not going over to help with the food bank, we could use some help. It usually takes me 2 trips to take the excessive books that nobody uses downstairs. So if somebody can hang around, and if, you're invited to take books home with you, but for those of you who don't take the books, there's going to be leftovers. If there's a volunteer or 2 who could take them down to the library, I'd appreciate it.
I've got the card that I brought him, and I'll take it.
Okay. For the last couple of years, we've had a little program called Coping with Christmas, meaning what do we do on Christmas? And we've gone out to dinner, and we've had some good times. This year, however, Coping with Christmas has to be a luncheon if we're going to do it, because it's on Shabbos, so we can't go out on Friday night. We're looking for a place to go, so if anybody knows of, it's usually going to be a Chinese buffet, but if anybody knows of a place, I'd love to hear about it, or you can let Dave Swerse, who's in charge of programming, let him know, and we'll get an email out and try to get reservations. Okay. Yes?
Could you mention, because we have so many new members, about the other things we bring in and who's in charge of?
Why don't you do it since you raised it? All right. We also we take in used cell phones. They go to a charity. They go to a women's shelter where the phones are converted into a 911 button. So for these women who have crisis, they just hit the phone and they get the police. We're also asking for used eyeglasses. Rich Moskowitz is in charge of getting them to the Lions, I believe. And toiletries, also going to different charities. Operation Yellow Ribbon and the women's shelter. So, and the food, of course.
CDs?
CDs too. Music, yes. CDs, and now it's also apparently some movies are there.
And Dave, would you come up and introduce our speaker for today?
Rabbi Lewis Eron is here to speak about the Jewish perspective on the ecology and the environment. You have to be exceptionally good to him because he is a member of our group. So with that, I welcome Rabbi Lewis Eron. Thank you.
So, good morning, everyone. I was called to task why I wasn't wearing my shirt, and that's because I like to keep it clean. And I know that if I were to bring it here, it would have everything I ate on. It would have the complete menu, which I want to thank you is always very good. We're going to do a couple of things today, And first, let me introduce myself. Many of you know me through the men's club. Some of you have gotten to know me through my work in the community. I'm the rabbi and director of religious life at for the Jewish Senior Housing and Health Services Agency, which is better known as Lionsgate, Saltzman House, Dubin House, and Gesher House. So if you have friends who are living in any of those places, or if you've had the opportunity, the opportunity to visit us for rehab, you would have gotten to know me. We do have lots of things for people to do, to visit, to come and volunteer at Lionsgate. So if that's something that you'd be interested in doing, and if you're ever bored on a Saturday morning, we do have Shabbat services, and we could always use you to help out. One good alternative for Christmas this year, however, happens to be Shabbat morning services, and I can assure you the congregations will be open. So you can daven, and after that you can go to a kiddush lunch at a Chinese buffet. I don't care. There is a principle in Jewish law that it's called bitul b'shishim, that if there's less than 1/60th of something in your pot, it really doesn't change the kashrut. And since the amount of expensive food they give you at a Chinese buffet is so limited, probably everything there would be kosher. Best pay up early so you don't have to violate the Shabbat by bringing money. I'm saying this because this is a conservative Jewish organization. This is my connection to the conservative movement. From other religious perspectives, it might not be so serious. Yes?
You might just be aware that we tried a kosher restaurant for coping with Christmas, and we had reservations, and we all showed up, and they had no table for us.
They were all sold out, yeah. Okay, so what we're going to do today is talk a little bit about Judaism, Judaism and the way that Jews over time have thought about the natural world. Just a couple of introductions. Well, actually, I have one more thing I need to talk about. One of the issues that has nothing to do with environment has to do with the Jewish community here. You may have noticed there has been an explosion of housing options for seniors. That is, people usually now, seniors is up beyond 80. Many new assisted livings have opened up. There's been an expansion in nursing homes as well, and that many of these places have small Jewish communities, 3, 4, 5, 10 Jews who are living there who would like to have some type of Jewish experience. Often maybe it's a Kabbalat Shabbat experience or a holiday experience. And because my job is now so focused in Lionsgate, I cannot really go to all those places. So one of the things that I'm asking is that if anyone happens to be interested in doing a monthly or ever other monthly Shabbat program, a Friday afternoon program, or something on the holidays 3-4 times a year, please get in touch with me. The residents there would be very, very appreciative. It's hard to find people who are usually free during the day, but those of you who have moved on to retirement, perhaps this would be something to do. It's not hard to run any of these services. If you can run a Seder at home, you have 10 times as enough skills than it is to run a Kabbalat Shabbat program. So please think about that. That's an advertisement. It will be a big help for all those people. They sometimes feel isolated from their Jewish heritage. Okay, so here we are today thinking about nature, the environment, the world around us. Now, it's appropriate on a couple of reasons. Reason number one is that this evening we begin the holiday of Sukkot. Now, what do you know about the major Jewish holidays? That is Sukkot, Pesach, and Shavuot, the central ancient holidays on which pilgrimage was required, trip to Jerusalem to worship. What brings all those holidays together?
It's in Scripture.
It's in Scripture, that's right. What do they deal with? They deal with agriculture and they deal with the natural world. So that we are put in our holiday season, it follows the calendar, follows the ancient agricultural schedule of our people in the land of Israel and antiquity, and celebrates the bounty of nature. We have built a sukkah, and the sukkah stands for so many different things, but one of the things that the sukkah stands for is our dependence on the natural world, and ultimately on the source of nature, the creator, Haborei, the one who should be blessed for giving us this world. So as you know, the sukkah is open to the sky so we can see the heavens. It is flimsy so we're outside. It is covered with something natural. So it's really to connect us to this world in which we live and to remind us of our dependence on this world and on the creator of this world. So that's number one, and tonight is Sukkot. Another thing that connects us to the natural world is how do we determine the Jewish calendar? The moon, that's right. And our big holidays, Sukkot and Pesach, fall right in the middle of the lunar month. So what is the moon doing now? It is a full moon, and today, or this evening, we're particularly lucky because it's not only going to be a full moon, but also a full lunar eclipse. So if you happen to be outside, either in your sukkah or not, I think it starts around 8 o'clock and it reaches its fullness sometime after 10 o'clock. So this is it's a cheap date. And it's another connection to the natural world. And those of you who are going to Israel, you'll be able to see the month come and go by watching the moon. One of the things that is very clear in Israel, particularly if you're not in the congested areas, out in the north or out in the south, you can actually see the month change and give a good idea of what day it is by looking at the moon. It's really a very powerful experience. Another thing that connects us to nature is that we are a very, very ancient tradition. So much of what is basic to Jewish practice goes back to, minimally, the late Bronze Age, perhaps even earlier, and clearly reflects the life as people were beginning to be urbanized, building cities, settling. What we pick up, what we do, we are very, very natural. We blow the shofar, which is a horn. We'll pick up the lulav and etrog, plants. We deal with bread and wine as part of our rituals. When we bury people, we put them right in the ground and we throw dirt on it. Many of the most basic things we do with our life are connected, tie us to the earliest human experiences being tied to this natural world in which we live. And though for many, many years we have been predominantly an urban people, these memories still are very powerful. So we're coming from a tradition that is grounded in the experience of our people way back in antiquity in the natural world. So that's important to know. Next thing, why this is significant. This topic is significant because it is not only a concern that we as Jews have, but it's also a concern shared by so many throughout the world. Many of you probably are aware of the Pope's statement on the environment. He titled it, "I Praise You." I'm saying the English translation because I'm not going to try medieval Italian, which he titles it. It's coming from the prayer of Francis of Assisi, who is one of the Pope Francis's heroes, in which he lays out in a very long encyclical that is a message that's supposed to be sent around the world, describing the needs to care of the environment from a Catholic perspective. But many of those views are similar to ours because they're based on biblical principles. And I would encourage you to take a look at the encyclical itself, or if you want to save some time, since it's about 30,000 words. It's a bureaucracy that writes it, I'm sure, and he just sort of checks it off. There are some very, very good summaries, but that brings it up right to the current. And part of the messages that he was giving in the United States and on this wonderful tour of his was talking about how we need to be concerned with the way we are treating this world. And I think it's worthwhile for us as Jews to look into our sources to see how we can complement that very powerful call to care for this world, which we understand was given to us as a gift. Whatever your beliefs are on creation, and for the vast majority of Jews, we are very much committed to the understanding of the world presented to us by science. That's our commitment to the power of reason, which itself is a divine gift. This world, as we experience it, as we live in it, was something that was handed to us by the generations before. We didn't create it. It's something that we don't own. It's something that we just use. And we are perhaps best seen as caretakers, people who are borrowing this world for a period, hopefully for many years, but even for the most lucky of us, our many years are just a very, very short time in the history of humanity, which is a very, very short time in the history of our beloved Earth. And one of the ways that Jews sometimes want to think about that is when we understand that we are borrowing the earth for our use and needing to pass it on or return it to the one who gave it to us so it could be lent to someone else, we can look into the Talmudic law concerning what it means to be a borrower. So, this gets me to my next point. And that is, when we think about the environment in general and have our environmental concerns, think about ecology, conservation, these concepts that are so important to us and so much part of our common dialogue are, for the most part, productions of the modern world. We're not going to find in biblical documents, medieval documents, direct quotes, direct statements about caring for the environment, or even being aware of our connection to the world in the same terms as we are connected today. This is not at all surprising, because the development of awareness of the human being's connection to, involvement with, and ability to affect the natural world is something that comes up really in the period of the Enlightenment, end of the 18th, and then well into the 19th century. And as so many of the ideas that are so powerful for us today, that have affected the development of all forms of Judaism, they are our response, the Jewish response to changes that are happening in the world consciousness. And some of those include our understanding of modern psychology, our understanding of modern economics, our understanding of the changes in physical and natural sciences, our understanding of what it means to be a nation. All these are ideas that are start to percolate in the end of the 18th, 19th century, and we as Jews respond to it. So you're really not going to have, quote, environmental statements from ancient texts. You'll have texts that talk about our relationship to nature in a different way, as people in ancient times saw nature, as people in late antiquity saw nature, as people in the medieval world saw nature. So they're things that we can draw from, but they're not going to address the same problem in the terms that we are doing. Does that make sense? This is really an important thing to understand, that we have a tradition that has lots of material that talks about the way we relate to all sorts of different issues, but it's not necessarily immediately applicable to the situation in which we're seeing it. We have to take that material, use our creative imaginations, our spiritual strengths to make it work for us. Now, this is a constant process. This is not a brand new thing. Jews have been doing this for a very, very long time. And in fact, one of the strengths of the Jewish tradition is our ability to rethink our past to make it powerful and potent and important for us. And just for your consideration, how many people here support the state of Israel? How many people here see themselves as Zionists? How many people have been to Israel, and if you've been, want to go back? And if you haven't, you feel terrible because you haven't gone. Now, that's everyone. But Zionism only was able to come up as a result of certain historical processes that start in the 18th, 19th century. It is the Jewish response to nationalism. It is Jewish nationalism. And we could not start thinking about ourselves in those terms until those terms were available to us, until it became part of the cultural menu in which we lived. That isn't to say that there are Jewish understandings of what it means to be a people. There's Jewish political history behind it. There are Jewish thoughts about what it means to run a government. All that is there, but it has to be drawn on and used for changing circumstances. So here we are in a world with changing circumstances. So what do you think are the things that made people in general aware that the human being, that human culture, human activity can change nature? When do you think that first starts? You all know this.
Industrial Revolution.
Industrial Revolution. That's right. When's the Industrial Revolution? When does it happen? It really starts in the 18th century. You can push it back to the 17th century, but it really starts in the 18th century. And by the beginning of the 19th century, we have people looking at it, responding to it, and saying, "Oi, Gewalt." That's the Jewish response. But there are responses in English and in French and in German. People looking at the world and saying, "Ugh, something's going wrong." And we think of many of the great romantic thinkers, particularly in the United States, of responding to that. Think about your high school education. You had to sit down and read what? Thoreau. Everyone, you all read Thoreau, right? Yes. You think about the great scientists of the 19th century. See, think about Alexander von Humboldt, who was schlepping himself all over South America, comes back with an understanding of the world as cosmos. He doesn't use the word Gaia, he uses the word cosmos, that we are one whole. The science is then creating a sense of unity, that we're all involved, we're all engaged, and therefore, we perhaps as human beings, since we have choices, we are also responsible. So people begin to think about how human beings impact the world and how they change it. We see the development of environmental movement in the United States. Who are some of the early characters? You may know some of them. Well, who started the national parks in the United States? That's right. So it's Teddy Roosevelt. So that is the end of the 19th century. You think of Moore out there with the naturalists. No, you have the idea that it's in this period that people start thinking about nature. So we can start off with a couple of things, and I want to read one thing that is very, very ancient, which gives us, I think, a source of how we connect to our world, and then a couple of modern poems, or let's say early 20th century poems that reflect this same thought. Then I'm going to pass out a list of Jewish, Israeli, and Middle Eastern environmental organizations, so you have some information to take home if you want to get involved. And then we'll go over some texts. So here it is. Going back to the most ancient time, it's Psalm 104. And what's beautiful about Psalm 104 is that scholars have seen reflections of Psalm 104, or perhaps the other way around, that Psalm 104 reflects some themes that exist in Egyptian literature, a prayer to the Aken, already going back to the 2nd millennium. So it's a fairly long psalm, but it's a nice one. God, bless the Lord, Borchi Nafshi. Bless the Lord, O my soul. Lord my God, you are very great. You are clothed with honor and majesty, wrapped with light as a garment. You stretch out the heavens like a tent. Now you know that if you put on... And then it says, you set the beams of your chamber on the waters. You make the clouds your chariot. You ride the wings of the wind. You make the winds your messengers, fire and flame your ministers. You set the earth on its foundation so that it shall never be shaken. You cover it with the deep as a garment. The waters stood above the mountains. At your rebuke they fled. The sound of your thunder they take flight. They rose up to the mountains, ran down to the valleys, to the place you appointed for them. You set a boundary that they may not pass, so they might not be seen again, covering the earth. You make springs gush forth in the valleys, they flow between the hills, giving drink to every wild animal. Wild asses quench their thirst. By the streams, the birds of the air have their habitation. They sing among the branches. From your lofty abode you water the mountains. The earth is satisfied with the fruit of your work. You cause the grass to grow for the cattle, plants for people to use, to bring forth food from the earth. Wine to gladden the human heart, oil to make the face shine, and bread to strengthen the human heart. The trees of the Lord are watered abundantly, the cedars of Lebanon that he planted. In them the birds build their nests. The stork has its home in the fir tree. The high mountains are for the wild goats. The rocks are a refuge for the conies. You have made the moon to mark the seasons. The sun knows the time for setting. You make darkness and it is night, when all the animals of the forest come creeping out. The young lions roar for their prey, seeking food from God. When the sun rises, they withdraw and lie down in their dens. People go out to their work, to their labor until evening. O Lord, how manifold are your works. In wisdom you have made them all. The earth is full of your creatures. Yonder is the sea, great and wide. Creeping things innumerable are they, living things both small and great. There go the ships and the Leviathan that you formed to sport in it. These all look to you to give them food in due season. When you give to them, they gather it up. When you open your hand, they are filled with good things. When you hide your face, they are dismayed. When you take away their breath, they die and return to dust. When you send forth your spirit, they are created, and you renew the face of the ground. May the glory of the Lord endure forever. May the Lord rejoice in his works. Who looks upon the earth and it trembles, who touches the mountains and they smoke. I will sing to the Lord as long as I live. I will sing praise to my God while I have being. May my meditation be pleasing, for I rejoice in the Lord. Let sinners be consumed from the earth. Let the wicked be no more. Bless the Lord, O my soul. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. That's a pretty powerful piece of poetry. In fact, that's probably all that you need to say, I better be concerned with this world. This biblical poet, drawing on themes that were already ancient in his time, really capture that sense of how connected we need to be with the world, how we need to honor the world, and how, from at least a spiritual point of view, this world is not ours, it's God's, and we are but creatures who share it with all nature. We're a part of nature, we depend on nature, and we need to care for nature. And if we don't, we become sinners. and that's not a great thing to be. So that's the very ancient part. So, going to the modern period, some early Hebrew poetry, just some quotes from it, again to get the idea. Saul Chernikovsky, one of the great founders of modern Hebrew poetry, Chernikovsky, along with Bialik, really are the writers who give us modern poetry in Hebrew. Not that there hasn't been lots of poetry before, that's really that switch. Not particularly religious in a traditional sense, though drawing from the themes of the Jewish tradition. So Chernikovsky writes this as part of it. If you ask me of God, my God, where is God that in joy we may worship? Here on earth too God lives, not in heaven alone. A striking fir, a rich furrow, in them you will find God's likeness. Divine images incarnate in every high mountain. Wherever the breath of life flows, you will find God embodied. And God's household, all being, the gazelle, the turtle, the shrub, the cloud pregnant with thunder. God in creation is God's eternal name. So from a more secular Zionist point of view, we have the same themes coming up. That this world in some way is enhanced, endowed with the divine. Two other short quotes, one from Rachel and the other from Leah Goldberg. Hebrew poets. Land of mine, I have never sung to you or glorified your name with heroic deeds or spoils of battle. All I have done is plant a tree on the silent shores of the Jordan. And if you're in Israel, you can go visit her grave near the silent shores of the Jordan. Leah Goldberg. My brother the river, eternally wandering, renewed every day and changing, and one, my brother, the flow between your banks, which flows like myself between spring and fall. And going back a century before to the Hasidic movement, Nachman of Bratslav, who had a custom of going out and being in nature, not unlike many of the Hasidic teachers. Here's a short meditation, a short prayer. Master of the universe, grant me the ability to be alone. May it be my custom to go outdoors each day among the trees and grass and all growing things, and there may I be alone and enter into prayer. So we depend on the earth, we depend on creation, not only for our physical well-being, for also our spiritual well-being. So the first thing I'd like to distribute is this basic information. And that is, if you want to explore the ways that we as individuals can be involved in the environmental movements in a Jewish way here in the United States or in Israel, and the Israeli organizations all have their American friends, so you can sit, as much as we would want to go to live in Israel, you can do the work here. So if someone would help me pass these out. I made lots of these. So. Oh, the Shemitah year is a good question. The Shemitah year came to an end, and this Sukkot we are also celebrating something known as the Heikal, which was an ancient custom when supposedly in the rabbinic reconstruction of Second Temple history, the people would gather to listen to the Torah being read, a way of recommitting the Jewish national spirit to Torah principles. And that's what it is. So that this year, all your etrogim are going to be produced in ways that honor the laws of Shemitah, the year of release. But that is over. We're starting another 7-year cycle. So just looking at some of these lists, the ones that I particularly like, and doesn't mean that their other ones are not good, but I do like Coalition on the Environment and Jewish Life. They have good resources. Hazon is a great place to be. The Jewish Farm School, it's a good place to visit. It's interesting. And JNF. JNF is, in some ways, that's Karen Kayem of Israel, which is tied into the rebuilding of the land of Israel, founded at the First Zionist Congress. You know it mostly from planting trees. Many of you may have grown up with the pushka or pishka, depending on where in Eastern Europe your grandmother came from. The blue box, where you collected money for trees, but the JNF has been very much connected with the rebuilding of Israel. And one of their big projects these days is dealing with water resources. In Israel itself, the two that I am most familiar with is the Arava Institute for Environmental Studies, which is really an interesting place because it is in the Arava, the Negev area, but it is a place where people from all over the Mideast, that is Israeli Jews, Israeli Arabs, and Arabs from around the area, including Palestinian Arabs, will come and study the environment. So it's a place where people are getting together. So it does have that connection also to our ultimate dream for coexistence and peace. The other one that I have a particular interest in, and I've contributed to it in the past, was the Society for the Protection of Nature in Israel. And if you ever go to Israel, they run the most phenomenal tours to get you out into the land. So, one of the things that I believe that connect our people and our memories so deeply to the environment is that we come from a part of the world that is some way the access. And we have this these ancient maps thinking of Jerusalem as being the center of the universe, the umbilicus or pupik of creation. But if you think about the land of Israel, it is the place where the various ecosystems come together. The African system meets the European system. It is where the birds fly up and down along the pathways. There is a wide variety of flora and fauna that more than you would expect in any one place the size of New Jersey. And because there's so many environmental zones, there's so much nature happening there. It's a place that if you keep your eyes open, you can't escape knowing our connection to the world, even though Israel itself today is one of the most densely populated places in the world. It won't look so much if you come from New Jersey, which is even more densely populated, but it is a very densely populated place. So, when you go there, keep your eyes out for nature and God's work, so to speak, in nature. So the next thing that I want to do, how much time do I have? A couple minutes. A couple minutes. So what I'm going to do is, I have so much to say, but I'm going to pass this out, and let's at least have the time to look at some of the quotes and themes. So. Some basic texts that one can use if one wants to just explore ways that Jews can think about the environment. Sources from the Bible and from later rabbinic literature. So, on the first page, the third quote, it's from rabbinic literature, and I'm going to be reading in the few minutes I have mostly rabbinic literature because I think we are more familiar with biblical material. You better say yes, because yes, you're all familiar with with biblical literature, because for lack of any other reason that you've probably been in a hotel someday and the TV didn't work and you had to read the Gideon's Bible. Hopefully there are better reasons that you're familiar with that material, but that's the basic one. So the third one down is from Ecclesiastes Rabbah. That is the commentary of rabbinic, it's a collection of rabbinic midrashim on the book of Kohelet, Ecclesiastes, which is particularly important today because it is the Megillah we read on Sukkot. Basically, this is a nicer way of saying something that you may see in your workplace's kitchen or coffee area. Your mother doesn't live here, clean up after yourself. So this is a rabbinic way of saying that. When God created Adam, God led him around the trees of the Garden of Eden. God said to him, "See how beautiful and praiseworthy all my works are. Everything I have created has been created for your sake. Think of this and do not corrupt or destroy my world. For if you corrupt it, there will be no one to set it right after you." And that passage in many ways has become the mission statement of the Jewish ecological environmental movement. On the bottom of the next page, that the world belongs to God, everything, all creation is holy. And that is drawing on the sense that because it belongs to God, everything that comes from the earth, that is all the things that give us our sense of security and wealth, prosperity, really doesn't belong to us. We are indebted to the source. So even though we raise lots of food, the food comes from the ground that we didn't create, depends on the water that we didn't create. So we need to share it with those who have less. And that is the theory behind the leaving of the corners of the field uncut for the poor and not cleaning up afterwards. So, page 2, a Jewish folk wisdom. Two people were fighting over a piece of the land. Each claimed ownership. To resolve their differences, they agreed to put the case before the rabbi. The rabbi listened and could not come to a decision. Finally he said, "Since I cannot decide to whom this land belongs, let us go and ask the land." He put his ear to the ground and then straightened up. "My friends, the land says it belongs to neither of you, but that you belong to it." Which is also an important, concept. Yes?
That's a Native American belief also.
Yes. Well, the Native American, one of the things that we share with many Native Americans is that sort of really rooted in that early experience, the beginning of agriculture, the beginning of urbanization, that connection to the natural world, so don't be surprised.
At Kennedy's inauguration, the poet read from the gift outright, which starts off with, "The land was ours before we got the lands." So, and it continues with that idea.
So, one last concept, and this I'm going to understand. I want you to leave with. There is a basic Jewish concept that means don't waste things. Everything is precious, don't waste it. Bal tashchit. And if there's one Hebrew word that I need you to go home with, it's this word, this concept, bal tashchit. Do not waste things. On page 3, the last quote on this topic from Sefer HaChinuch, a medieval compilation of Jewish law based on the weekly Torah reading and very much grounded in the thought of Maimonides. The author of this book was drawing from that stream of tradition. Says, "The purpose of the mitzvah, Bal Tashchit, is to teach us to love that which is good and worthwhile and cling to it, so that the good become part of us and we avoid all that is evil and destructive. It is the way of the righteous and those who improve society, who love peace and rejoice in the good in people and bring them close to the Torah. That nothing, not even a grain of mustard, should be lost to the world. That they should regret any loss or destruction that they see. And if possible, they will prevent any destruction they can. Not so the wicked, who are like demons, who rejoice in the destruction of the world, and they are destroying themselves. Everything is important, everything is cherished. We have to be able to understand that nothing here is put in this world without a purpose. Nothing is to be wasted. So, a couple basic final comments or concerns that you need to take home from the Jewish tradition and its rabbinic reflection on biblical themes that I think are applicable to our concern for the environment. 1, the earth is the Lord's, doesn't belong to us. 2, if we mess it up, no one's going to clean up after us. That's our job. And 3, everything is precious. Don't waste anything. I want to thank you so very much for the opportunity to be here and talk to you about this important and seasonal topic.
Rabbi, we always appreciate when you take time to join us, and as always, I know you probably wallpaper your wall with our certificates, but we certainly appreciate it.
This is my discount for the next lunch.
Next brunch. Next year, free membership.
Thank you, that's right.
You want us out here, Dave? Out here? Yeah, we need a picture out here.
Okay. This will be in the voice? No.
How about in front of the bench?
You get on one side so you know we're here.
There you go.
That work? I'm trying, believe me.
Suck it to me. Suck it in, Don.
Okay.
Before you do this, somebody asked me to do something before and I forgot. I understand there's some of our members have possibly put on a little weight since they got their jerseys, and they have these jerseys
And he's looking at me when he's saying,
that don't fit. If that's the case, if you're really like, don't wear them because they're not big enough, we can order some XLs, XXLs. Come and see me afterwards so we got an idea of what we might need.
I'll also put you on a training program so we can drop 20 pounds.
That's better.
We ordered those from Tent City, don't we?
this is a well-chiseled body, it's just well camouflaged. That's all I can tell you. Rabbi, would you mind?
The prize today, we collected 114, 57 is the 50-50. It's mine.
Just one other thing. Elliot, welcome. Glad you could join us. We appreciate it. Looking forward to having you.
I got one.
Okay, go ahead.
If you bring in a phone, like I think we have about 6 phones brought in, don't forget to bring in a charger. They could use that too.
I have a question, Mike.
Yeah.
When you bring in a phone, what happens to the data on the phone?
Hopefully you're taking it off, but they clear everything. But personally, I would clear it myself also.
How do you do that?
It's SIM card.
I'll talk to you later.
Art, is there going to be an investment? There will be an investment club meeting immediately after this meeting. Okay, the winning number for the 50-50, 745-289.
Oh, the one after us.
Ticket for sale.
745-289.
Hey, Don, there are a bunch of workout tapes.
Oh, thanks, Jared. Thanks, Jared. The Sukkah sign-up sheet, please make sure you do that. Have a great day, everybody, and hopefully Eagles win.